all your stuff. What can figure it out? That's how it chooses you.
Hey.
Hey.
How's it going?
It continues. Life continues.
Yeah.
Very much in the same way as it has.
Purple shirt's on. I'm ready to record.
Purple shirt's on. My black shirt is on. Let's do this.
Everybody, welcome to It Chooses You Smidgen Edition.
Smidge-a-dish.
There we go. I am Claire Patton.
I am Teresa Sparks.
And we make things for you.
That's it. Well, you called this once very recently, probably in the last Smidgen, actually, our love letter to the world.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great way of thinking about it. So we'll continue with that.
Yeah, our Smidgen is just cool stuff is out there. We're going to tell you about it.
Yeah.
My job is the Smidgen this week. One among many jobs.
The only thing I had to worry about was finding something interesting to talk about for 20 minutes or so.
I was raised in a family that did not acknowledge the existence of tools.
Oh, Lord.
That help you do things.
Yeah.
I had to learn about that. If you have a problem, there is likely, in this modern age of wonder, there is likely a tool to help you with that problem. Today, I'm going to do an episode called The Right Tool for the Job, Gardening Edition.
I love it. The last time my roommate and I had to move his giant gaming table, we moved it down to the storage area of our condo.
Away,
out of here, please. And he was like, we'll just carry it and we'll just maneuver it. And I was like, but it's only 4 bolts that are holding the top onto the base. Why don't we just unscrew it and it will be so much easier? And he was like, oh, won't that take a long time? And like, by the time he'd finished the sentence, I had the bolts out. And I was like, we're not carrying this as one piece. We're going to take it apart because it's designed for that. Everyone should have a drill.
That's right. So today I'm just going to tell you about some tools that make gardening a more pleasant experience, things that I've discovered. In certain cases, I have my preferred brands, and I will go ahead and shout those out. Not paid by any of these companies, just a fan. So the first thing with any kind of endeavor you're doing is identifying the problem, right? And sometimes that's where I struggle.
Yeah.
I used to walk to work every day, and I hated the walk to work. And it took me a long time to realize it's because I was wearing my work shoes. So I just started wearing tennis shoes, and then I loved the walk to work. It's things like that, like identifying the issue. First, I just want to talk about what you should be wearing. Tools that you can put on your body that may make gardening better.
Excited. All right.
The first one is you need a good hat. My preferred brand of gardening hat is Tilley, Tilley. It's a Canadian company. They're very high quality hats. They have vents. They're cooling. They have a lifetime warranty. They're very well made. And my favorite thing is the hat I have. In the top of the hat, there's a very teensy secret pocket. Straps on the front and back to keep it on your head in the, I don't know, wind tunnel that is the prairie.
Yeah.
It's good to have a hat that's going to keep you cool, obviously going to keep a little bit of the sun out of your eyes. I would recommend, if it's financially feasible for you, this is so hard to convince yourself to do sometimes, but invest in quality. Mm-hmm. Buy one hat, don't buy one every year.
Yeah.
That's not always possible, and I recognize that. And there have been times in my life when it wasn't always possible. So if you can, please invest in quality. You will not regret it. Second thing is just make sure you have a pair of gloves. I don't have a preference on brand. I've got some Carhartt ones. They're fine. Get some good gloves, because sometimes, that's one of those problems that you need to identify, right? Like, oh, my hands hurt from doing, right, okay, I need a pair of gloves. Seems like a no-brainer, but sometimes I have no brain, so.
What a delightful way of talking about that. Thank you for that one.
Get a good pair of boots, y'all. 100% I recommend muck boots. They're incredible. They are heavy duty, especially if you have any kind of land or terrain that you're navigating. Get a good pair of boots that'll protect your feet from the mud, from critters, from prickly pears. I don't know if everyone else has those, but we got a lot. Protect your feet. The muck boots are incredibly durable. I invested in them, and they are an investment, but I invested in them because so many other homesteaders and gardeners had said, this is the way to go. I used to buy boots every year, and now I don't. Mine this year, I've had them for a few years. They had got a little rip in them. They sell a kit to repair them, and it's a little bit like repairing a bike tire.
That's awesome.
And they work fine.
That's great. I've seen all of my favorite gardeners and gardening YouTube channels. They all have the waterproof knee-high or so calf-high boots because it's messy out there, y'all. Don't hurt yourself. Don't ruin another pair of socks. Just invest in a pair of waterproof boots.
Well, and I told the story about stupidly forgetting my boots and having to hike into the property during some kind of flood event.
You lost your shoe.
I lost my shoe because I wasn't wearing my boots, man. Those muck boots would have stayed on my fucking feet.
Did you ever find your shoe? Did you go back out?
I did. I found my shoe.
Okay.
I didn't really lose it. It just came off my foot and filled with mud and wet. Something that was a game changer for me this year is I got a freaking windbreaker.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what the disconnect is. Like, I knew windbreakers existed. I had heard tale of them. I've never owned one. I knew that it was windy out here. I did not put the two together and go like, hey, I mean, I did eventually, but suddenly I was on some clothing website and I was like, oh, does a windbreaker help with wind? And so I found one on sale and bought it, and I love it. It has allowed me to continue working when otherwise I would have been cowering inside watching Felicia Day play Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I don't know.
I mean, there are worse ways to spend a day. But it's good. But it's good that you found the tool that will extend your work season, if you will. I'm able to be out in this now. I feel the same way about the time I bought an actual snow coat, like a winter coat, that was for protecting you from cold temperatures, not for looking good and kind of protecting you. I was like, no, I'm just going to buy this. It has a little avalanche button thing in it in case I ever leave town, because God knows what happens out there. But I put it on when it's super cold, and it's too warm unless it's 0 or lower. And it's just so wonderful to be able, like, oh, it's very cold today. And that's all right, because I have this tool.
I was watching a piece about some town in Wisconsin, I want to say, and they probably lots of places in the what I consider the far north. They have this phrase, which is, there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad gear. Or that's probably paraphrased, but you can be okay out there. Of course, just general advice, make sure you're working in the morning or evening if you're in hot weather.
Only mad dogs and Englishmen go out in the noonday sun.
That's right. Make sure you're staying hydrated. Get yourself some good sunscreen and some natural but effective bug spray if you need it. Make sure you know about your tools. Sometimes I'll just Google how to use this thing properly because there always seem to be pieces of information that seem obvious to me, but that I didn't know. So, for example, with shovels and hoes, you actually need to sharpen those. You need to sharpen your shovel and your hoe, and you'll find that it works more efficiently. I didn't know that until a couple of years ago. You just use a tool file or a rasp. There's a particular angle you want to aim for with different tools. Also, gooseneck hoes, actually, they're adjustable. So you can adjust the angle of the actual implement so that it's comfortable with your height.
Oh.
The angle between you and the ground.
I only learned very recently that you use the corner of a hoe. Like, I was like, oh, right. Because I was going on it at it flat. And I was like, this is not doing what I need it to do. What is it? It's like, oh, wait, if you turn it, oh my God, if you turn it and use the corner, look, it's now a trough to put seeds in. Holy shit. Right. It seems so obvious now.
Right. I get it. If you want some resources on gardening implements and tools, there's a book called Gardening When It Counts by Steve Solomon, and he gets into the details of what angle you want, how to do it. That's just one piece of a varied amount of information in the book. You can also pick up any book by Elliot Coleman. Both of these authors have great information on tools and how to maintain them. The other thing I've gotten really great results for, and I could see that in different contexts, it may not work as well, is, speaking of Elliot Coleman, it's called a seed blocker. They're compartmentalized metal that you basically, instead of filling a pot with soil to start a seed, you fill this metal compartments with soil and you create these freeform blocks with some moistened soil, and you can start the seed directly into that soil. And what happens is the roots air prune. They'll stop growing where they hit air. So you don't have to use plastic. You don't have to buy those chintzy little seed starters that will just break in 2 months. I have gotten really great germination rates with that. And it's probably not for everybody. It's a little more work to set up, but once you've done it, it's quite easy. And once you know what's going on, that Elliot Coleman also has great information. He popularized that tool. So he's got great information in his books about seed blockers. Again, I've just gotten really great results with it. I actually started a couple things in plastic pots. They didn't come up. The seed blocker, there's something about the way it compresses the soil in just the right amount that I find it really stimulates germination with the seeds. And this final one is, in fact, the thing that inspired this episode, which is that I got this app this week called Picture This. I am not an app developer, but I have wished for this for years. This is an app, people, that identifies plants with a photo that you take.
Yeah, that's necessary. It's called, I'm sorry, what is it called again?
Picture This.
Picture This. Okay. I'm going to download it right now.
I'm sure that there are other apps that do this. So this was the one that the Instagram's brilliant algorithm suggested. So you take a photo and the app tells you what plant it is. So I got it, and Tim was a little skeptical, and he said, well, it's not going to identify the plants out here on the prairie. Well, my friends, it does.
Nice.
It knows that those pretty little orange flowers are called scarlet globe mallows.
Oh.
So when we first came out here, we had wild licorice. And I took some pictures of it. I didn't know what plant it was. And it took me an hour and a half of research to figure out that that was licorice. And that was one plant on this 80 acres. There are people that have the resources of people in their neighborhood or family members who have taught them the plants and the history of where they are. I don't have that. Mm-hmm. So to me, this app represents something really important, actually, which is the democratization of information. Mm-hmm. We're not all from the landed gentry, my friends, but we still might want to know what plants are around us. I feel like I suddenly know my neighbors.
Yeah.
To me, names are very important. Knowing names as a human is a sign of respect for the plants around me. And knowing names is also just a way to research and find out more about that plant. It sounds silly, but to me, it feels like I have friends out here now because I know their names. It's incredibly important. This is one of those occasions in which I feel they're rare. Technology is really serving humanity, and that this is a great tool for people who garden or people who just enjoy to get out there and get into nature and want to know what they're looking at.
Whose neighborhood you're walking in.
Exactly. Now, they do have a premium version. You can pay extra. I'm not personally not doing that right now. The premium, I think you can access what they call books. I just say what they call because I don't know how long they are or how in-depth or helpful they are. You can talk to experts and get help with things. The other neat feature that the free version of this app has is a diagnosis. So if you have a house plant or a plant in your garden that is sick, you take a photo of the plant and then you take close-up photos of the sick parts and it will diagnose the issue.
Oh, that's fun.
Now, I say take that with a grain of salt. I had a plant that I knew was overwatered. It said underwatered. That is a hard distinction for humans to make who know what they're doing. So take the diagnosis with a grain of salt, but it is a helpful tool that can maybe point you in the right direction as to what's wrong with your plant and then what the remedies might be. So everybody, picture this app. Just totally game changing. I love it. I love it. I love it. And it's really fun. It's really fun to take a picture and then know something.
It's like, let me just hold on. Let me learn something. Click. Oh, hello. Wild licorice. What's up?
Yeah, exactly. So everybody, I hope that was helpful. Those are the right tools for the job, for gardening. I love mental anguish, but I am not a fan of physical anguish. So I have cultivated this information for myself, and it's a joy to share it with you all.
Thank you so much for sharing those recommendations. I have been on the hunt for a sun hat, and now I know what kind I will look at.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's rough out there in the summertime. Thanks so much, Claire. This has been really great.
Everybody, thank you for listening to It Chooses You Smidgen Edition. We will be back in the next episode. Please join us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and download. It helps us spread the word to other awesome motherfuckers like yourselves. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Testing. Great. Thank you for listening to It Chooses You. Your hosts are Teresa Sparks and Claire Patton. Our theme song is by Bobby Dart. If you'd like to get in touch with us, drop us an email at itchoosesyoupodcast@gmail.com.